Hello and welcome, fellow bookworms and film fans. Welcome back to The Contented Narrative. This week we'll be looking at The Silver Child by Cliff McNish. Now, originally I did score this book as a 3 out of 5, but it's creeping up. It's now like a 3.54 out of 5. This was recommended to me by my friend Joe. Now, you'll remember Joe from such episodes as as Peter Pan, as Peter Pan, and obviously the Terry Pratchett one we did as well, Nation. That is it. My memory's awful. So she's been on a few times, but I thought, you know what, I'll do this one on my own this time. And the reason it's sort of creeping up is because when I originally read this book, at the end of it, I was left very disappointed. I genuinely was like, okay, you're building up, you're doing all of this, and then you've not really... It felt more like a world-building book than anything else. And for some reason, in my head, I went, do you know what? Because if there was more, she'd have told me there was more. So I just went, do you know what? It's okay. The story is what the story is. And I kind of left it. Then when I had a conversation and we started Googling, we realised that actually there is more books into this series. So I am going to be sort of like pushing up to 3.5, maybe 4 out of 5. So essentially it covers 6 children who leave the comfort of their homes and they move to essentially a dump. And I'm not saying a dump as in like, oh, it's a shit place. I'm saying dump as in a literal dump where you put the stuff that you don't want anymore. And they've all got sort of like special powers. So you've got like Thomas, who has what's known as like, it's like a gift where he can heal people. He can give them what it is that they need. You've got Helen, who can read minds. You've got Walter, the giant boy, like an actual giant boy. You've got the twins, Emily and Frida, who can sort of like sniff out the other talented children. And then you've got Milo, who basically is turning into the Silver Child. So he starts off as a normal child and then he turns into the Silver Child. And it follows how these children were in perfectly normal homes, absolutely fine, and then felt the urge to go and live in this dump for some unknown reason. And then it becomes clear that it's because they're all being pulled together. And I'm not going to tell you sort of like how it ends, but as I said, I was kind of a bit like, this book felt more like a world building one. So although it was good and I liked getting to know the characters, it felt like it was just building up for something. So I do get a little bit sort of like, sometimes with world builder ones, I'm just a bit like, can you just give me a bit more, like a little bit more of the plot? So I will definitely be, well, Joe will probably be buying the next couple books in this series and I'll be reading it again. And I might come back on later and tell you how the rest of the series goes. But for me, this was a 3.5 out of 5. Because, as I said, although the characters are really interesting and, you know, you do meet different people with different ideas and you see how the children interact with each other, it felt like it was just a setup. And I'm normally not a huge fan of just the setup books. I prefer to have a bit more to it. But you may agree or disagree with what I've said, so please leave your comments below and remember to always keep it contento.